Good evening, everyone. I started this stream with some grounding relaxation techniques that I've found work really well, and that's the tapping and tapping down through the whole body and then back up again, and then um, when you finish the tapping, you continue with like a breathing technique, and helps relax the body to the point where you're not as stressed out as you might have been when you first started. So I know this works for me, and it's worth trying for yourself if you think you get some benefit from it. So I wasn't planning on doing a live stream today. I'm going through a lot of stuff at the moment, and um, I was triggered by a single event that happened to me today, and I talked about this topic a few days ago, and I talked about it at length, and it's sad that I have to actually bring this up again, but I want to make it constructive and positive because it's something I'm going through right now, and I want to talk about how to deal with these situations when they arise, and so that they don't keep you in a state for too long. Thank you, Alex. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're here. So, what happened today was unfortunate. Um, and I normally have a really strong way of dealing with these situations, although, depending on what's happened to you during the day, you might be in a position where you're already vulnerable, and that's where I was today. So I am dealing with a lot at the moment, and I didn't need to deal with this today. This was something that just was completely unprovoked and unnecessary. So my way of dealing with it right now is to actually talk to people and talk about this. I think talking things out is the best way to do things. Keeping things inside, um, it means that it's going to perpetuate the pain that you might be going through. You can keep things inside and have techniques to um, relax this, put you in a state of relaxation so that you're not um, perpetuating the pain. And you can actually learn techniques to deal with this as it happens. So um, there's so much information out there on the internet of how to deal with bullies. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about how you should do anything, um, because there's so much information out there, and there's also support groups and helplines for people who are dealing with this. So if you're affected personally and you're going through a lot of pain because of all this, then reach out to um, look to find someone you can talk to, and um, they'll most likely it'll be a safe place for you to do that. Um, and they're there to help you in that situation, and they can advise you on how to do things. But I'm going to speak personally about how I react and deal with that. Um, so normally I have a certain amount of protection or guard when I'm in a situation where I could potentially be confronted by these situations, and I can immediately play those situations down. So what happened today is my mum is quite unwell and she's not at home at the moment, and I had to go see where she is and go to see her. So I was in a state of grief and sadness and very upsetting situation. And I'm a friendly person and I always try and speak to people in a friendly way. I treat people with respect and I get a lot of gratitude, and I get a lot of I find normally in these social settings, it's it's the friendliness that I receive from others that helps me deal with my own situations. And I was confronted out of nowhere, unprovoked today, and I don't understand why people do these things. So I went to go see my mother, and while I was at a place where I thought was like a sanctuary for people to be understanding and compassionate towards other people, I was being friendly and I was doing the right thing. And um, out of nowhere, this person made a personal attack at me, and it was reasonably mild, but because it's something that hurts me, um, it had an effect on me, and I went into the sort of fright mode, and then I left the situation and then returned to go see my mother, and I was um, trying to not get upset by it. But what happened was is I went from us. I've been upset all day and had been since things went um, things became difficult for my mum. So I'm already in a complete state of distress, and so and I went back after. This is after the incident. I went back to go see my mother, and I felt like throwing up because I was so upset by what had just happened. So I won't go into any details about what happened because like bullying experiences are personal, and I don't want to make it bigger than what it is already. But what I want to do is talk about how I dealt with the situation today. So what it did for me is it meant that I couldn't stay with my mother for the whole afternoon, which is really upsetting because she's unwell and there may be not so much time that I get to spend with her. Thanks for that. I'm going through a bit at the moment, and that's making me feel better that there's people out there listening and they care. and I'm not like giving up on things, and I want to make this constructive. So, and I don't want to escalate the situation and um, make it more difficult. I want to try and understand it, and a big way of understanding these situations is trying to empathize with the bully without actually becoming more of a victim yourself. So you want to try and um, rationalize it, but and empathize and forgive. But you don't want to just forgive. You still have to understand. You need to be protective of yourself. And unfortunately, this happened when I was vulnerable. So I was already in a state of real distress, and I didn't expect it to happen. So I didn't, and I was in a position where I had no um, recourse. I couldn't actually, and I couldn't bring the situation down at the time. So all I could do was escape, and I left where I was and pretended like well, I didn't pretend. I knew what I'd just gone through, and I didn't want to actually. Um, I didn't want to make it affect where what was happening around me because it was very important to me. And so I went back to see my mother, and I was so sick I felt like vomiting, and it meant that I had to actually go home early. But I'm not going to actually give up. So tomorrow, when I go see her, I'm actually going to spend more time with her than I did today. I'm going to spend as many hours as I can there, and I'm not going to let this thing tear me down. So I've got people watching, so I'm going to read these comments as this goes on, because rather than talk and talk and then read the comments later. So thanks, Alex. Thank you so much. And Trix, trust me, man, it will get better. Just remember, people that bully you are just jealous and protecting what they feel about themselves. I think that too. I think that um, I think this person was. I, f- I can. That allows me to not forgive what they did, but forgive the person themselves, because I think that they're maybe in a difficult situation in their life themselves, or they've been bullied a lot themselves. I like to think that um, it's it's not their inherent nature to do this. Like to think that um, they're in a difficult situation themselves, and that allows me to somehow um, not um, not get angry at them, or um, it lessens the amount of time that I'm sort of stuck in that situation. But the thing that really offends me and really hurts me here is that this is a very serious time in my life, and um, I need to be there for my mum when I can, and she's literally dying, you know. And I hope that she doesn't. It's not a. It's I like to think that she's going to get better, but it's not. It's it's a situation where I'm having to deal with this, and then this happens today in a vulnerable situation, and I'm like in a place where you think that um, none of this would go on. So I have to I have to think about those things, like what you just said, that this person you know didn't mean necessarily to put me in this state. but they still did what they did. I was in a position where I couldn't actually say anything back to the person. So they were standing in a they were in a position where they were protected in a way. So I and the thing is, if you're getting bullied by someone in public or a stranger, um, I think it's just as difficult if it's someone you know. But um, the best thing I've found is to just leave the place, be kind and courteous. Don't don't give up on being nice to people because of these things, because there's so many good people out there in the world. And another big thing, because afterwards this happened, I spoke to someone close to me and I told them what happened, but I didn't tell them the details. But I told them how upset I was, and I said um, how it made me feel. It was so confronting. It made me feel physically sick, and how upset I was because it actually, at a crucial time in my life, I had to change what I was doing. So I am a little bit offended. Um, but I spoke to this person close to me, and they reassured me with a lot of really great advice. And it was a, a lot of it I already knew, but the thing is if someone's telling you something you already know, you need to hear it again, and you need to remind yourself that these are the things. So there are so many good people out there in the world. So just because there's a few bullies, don't give up on humanity. Don't stop being a nice person just because of people doing these things. And you know, um, but learn how to protect yourself in a way so that um, you don't get so upset. You can lessen the effect, and it happens through these sort of techniques of empathizing or forgiving the person for upsetting you. Try like you can't change the person, or you can't if you try to understand their situation too much, you're using all of your energy to try to empathize. So it's better to sort of move on. And it's I think in a lot of cases the person who is bullying has been bullied themselves, so that does help. But it doesn't mean they should keep doing what they're doing. With the aftermath, and after you go through this, if you're going to be upset for the rest of the day and sometimes days afterwards, and if it affects you wanting to go out in public because of this situation, or if it's happening in a workplace, that's worse because then you fear going to work. um, you got to somehow try and resolve this, and that's where learning, reading about, researching how to deal with bullies helps. Finding support networks helps, and it, learning to deal with the situation when it arises. So I think I did the right thing by actually removing myself from the situation, because if I stayed there, I would have gotten more upset, and then I would have been upset around my mother, and she would have um, seen how upset I was. And I'm trying to be happy and positive around her because I want her to heal. We've got more comments. Good morning, Luke from England. Thank you. Good morning to you as well. It's morning there. Yeah, nice. See, you made me smile just by saying good morning and the emoticons. So you know, I'm smiling even if I can't smile. Like
I'll smile as I talk because it's if you might have even heard in my voice, it's just gotten nicer, or not nicer. It's maybe gone a little bit more happy from where it was. But it is hard to actually be happy when you're talking about these topics. So I'm trying to be constructive, and I don't want the bullies to think they can get away with it, but they've worked out how to do it in situations where they can get away with it, and that's sad. So, um, so I, it upset me so much. I felt like throwing up, and um, that's pretty extreme. It hasn't happened like that for a long time, where that's happened to me, and I think that was because I was in such a personal, vulnerable situation and going through um, the pain of grief and loss that hasn't yet completely happened. And I still want to hold out hope. And I'm in a situation where I've been directly dealing with this for a while. So I do feel personally offended by this. I, I think anyone who's been bullied knows how much it affects you. The the worst thing is that humans will actually in social situations, they won't just do it alone. There'll be a group bullying thing that goes on sometimes, and this happens in all different levels of society and social situations. So it's hard for people to escape from this. So any way that you can protect yourself or become more resilient to these situations and deflect it and put up a mirror, um, at least acknowledge if someone's bullying you, what I found is be stay nice to them. Don't stop being a nice person. And um, the sad thing is they want to see the expression on your face when they hurt you. So um, they want to see that they know that what they've just done is actually done what their desired effect is. So if you retaliate, you're actually making it worse for yourself. So the best thing to do is not to fight. It's 5 a.m. for me. I haven't slept yet. I'm going to bed, but much love to you too. You and your mum. I know you'll get through everything you're just saying. Thank you, Trix. I hope you have a good night's sleep. I understand what it's like not getting to sleep. Like if it's I don't know, it's obviously 5 a.m. where you are and you haven't slept. So that's tough. And insomnia and not getting sleep is the worst. So I hope that that alleviates for you and that you get some more rested sleep or at least sleep now. And this is something that I've found if you have disrupted sleep and you finally get some good sleep, it sort of makes up for it. So I hope you have a comfortable, restful sleep and know that you've made me feel a bit better. So I hope that helps. And your encouragement is taken on board, and I'm not going to let this hurt me too much. Sorry to hear about your mum. I hope you're okay. Thank you. I I'm um yeah. Good night, Trix. Hope to see you again. I'm going to keep talking about my life
and I'm going to try and not make it too personal. I feel sort of like I've broken a rule talking about my mum tonight, um, but she means a lot to me, so that's why I'm so offended by this situation, because I don't need this right now, and I don't pick fights with people, and so when people attack me, I just have to take it, and then I end up in a worse situation. Like it'll cause me to drink or smoke cigarettes. So whatever it's done to me, it's it has an effect that's detrimental to me. So any way that I can better myself in that situation, you know. So I'm not, and that's what I said in the um, uh, title of the video. I said I'm not going to let it hurt me any more than it has already. Um, so I'm using words myself to um, I'm talking to myself, and I'm sharing this information too. I'm saying it to people around me. You know, I'm saying I'm not going to let this hurt me more than it has already, and I'm acknowledging that it has hurt me, and I'm not going to I'm not going to let it do that. So when I came home, I did some breathing, and I did some tapping, and I did some thinking, and I relaxed myself to a point where I could um, think about whether I was going to do a live stream or not, because there's I figure why not talk it out? You know, I can start a live stream and I can talk about this stuff, and already I've got people here that have got suggestions and support, and um, I feel better now from actually even doing this, and I think it's a constructive way to move forward. So um, this situation was a one-off chance situation, and it was a stranger, so it's easier for me to um, dispel the attack, because it was an attack, even if it was part of like some form of social habit that people partake in. I don't agree with this as a thing that people do. Um, I did not deserve it. I did not ask for it, and I certainly did not retaliate in any form whatsoever. So, um, and I personally am I'm more offended by this than I normally am. So even though I talked about narcissistic abuse earlier in the week, I had to I had to go back to this subject, unfortunately. So um, I'm glad I've got people here that are supportive, and I I hope to think that um, bullies never come to this channel. You know, um, there's no need for them to come here. Um, so I think it's a safe place for me and for you yourself who are listening or joining the chat. So um, there are places in the world, like on the internet and in social, private, physical, in interactive places. Sadly for myself, I'm so isolated from society that I'm actively trying to think of a social group or a club or volunteering somewhere where I'm not going to be exposed to this stuff. And I'm daunted by that because um, I'm fearful of like putting in my time and effort into something and then having this happen again. But I know that there are these places out there, so I'm not going to give up on that. I'm not going to give up on people or humanity. I'm going to try and understand it. Well, try and understand how to deal with it rather than try to understand it itself, because it's something that's so ingrained, and that humans do these things to each other, um, and we can't escape it. Um, but if we surround ourselves by people that don't do these things, that means that um, you're in a more protected state, or you can become more vulnerable or open yourself up, and know that you're not going to be attacked when you're in those vulnerable situations. So I can't give advice. So that's why, well, when I speak about these things, I try and like talk about my own experience. Um, so I've gone from feeling like throwing up, and I went through the anger stage on the way home, and I had a conversation with someone close to me, and they helped me rationalize the situation, and they said all the right things to me, which was really great, and I appreciate that. And we don't always have those people around at those crucial times, and that's why I think you know knowing how to have these conversations with yourself in those situations, because a lot of people are alone in after these situations, and it will perpetuate the state that you're in. So for me, the best thing to do is to go through a um, process of calming yourself down. Excuse me, calming yourself down so that your heart rate has lowered. And so doing breathing techniques can really help. Having a set of things to say to yourself to remember and remind yourself of um, what you've just gone through. And so you can tell yourself that it's okay, you're not there anymore. Because if you've removed yourself from the situation and it was hours ago now, then there's no reason why you should still be upset. And another thing is telling yourself that not acknowledging the pain that's happened and saying how much it really did hurt you, but saying to yourself that you're not going to let it hurt you more than it already has. And that's what I said to myself today. um, Not necessarily try to understand the situation, but to empathize with the person in a way where you can actually say, well, this person may have been bullied themselves and they're just continuing on the bullying. And I know I'm probably repeating myself, but these are things that you need to repeat. And don't go down the path of um, blaming yourself. Um, don't go down that path, because you'll keep doing that, and so the next time it happens, you'll probably do the same thing again. So know that it's not your fault. um, if it's in if I'm the people I'm talking to here have been through this, and um, or understand this, is that um, it's not bullying if you've provoked it or you've started something. It's bullying when it comes from nowhere and is unprovoked and uncalled for. So know that it's not your fault. So, Hayoka, I can relate to this so much when it comes to those bullies. Really, being your own, being your own best friend. So there are two comments from um, Ultra Hayoka. So I hope that it does relate, because I think it does, because this is what happens, you know. And being your own best friend is a big thing. So I've already been isolated and removed from society a lot. I used to be out in public and had lots of friends, and that sort of slowly gotten less over the years, and then got to a point where um, I have very few close friends. I'm lucky to have family and those friends, but being my own best friend is um, something that's really helped me. 1969 says, "You're better than them. Always remember that, Luke." Thank you. That's that's a really good thing to think and to know. Um, you know that you're not going to play into their game, because they play mind games, and it's what they're doing is lesser than what you're doing. So if you're remaining if you keep being a friendly person and being honest, and um, not playing these games that they play, that you're better than that, and you're better than them. But you're not actually you're not trying to put them down by saying you're better than them. What you're doing is you're actually raising yourself up from the situation, because you get put in the state where you feel less than them, or they've made you feel like you're less than them. And so what you're doing is um, making it even, at least, because they've falsely inflated their status or stature. So they're pretending that they're on the top of the sandcastle. Do you remember that game when we were kids, where there was a pile of sand? Yeah, I know that this happened when I was a kid. There was a pile of sand. Someone had run to the top of the sandcastle and say, "I'm the king of the castle." And I forget what the other saying was. "I'm the king of the castle." And the next line was like putting the person down. And this was a game that kids played in, you know, in social settings. So it was something that just kept being perpetuated, and that sort of thing reinforces this sort of oppressive, um, belittling culture. So you're better than them if you don't play that game. Always smile and walk away. 69 says, yes, exactly. That's the best thing, is they've attacked you and you smile and walk away. It's the best way to say that you're not going to be hurt by them. Narcissists program you to always think it's your fault. Therefore, realizing that it's not your fault is essential for healing. That is so true, Heyoka. They do that. They they gaslight you into thinking that it's your fault, that you're being bullied or being made to think that you're not right or you don't know what you're doing or whatever it is. So that's so true. Look, I've been doing some really long streams, and I'm not going to keep this stream going much longer tonight because I want to just relax for the rest of the night. But I really appreciate everyone here tonight, and you've said some really amazing things to me, and it's made me feel better. So I'm going to end this here, and I just want to say thank you to you all, and I hope you're all doing well. Walk away and be better, 1% better than yourself yesterday, because they don't change anyways. That's it. Keep improving yourself. Keep doing those things. You know, take it as a reason to, like, tomorrow I'm going to get up earlier and I'm going to do more tomorrow. So yeah, that's awesome. That's a really great. That's such a great way to look at it. Improve yourself. You know, take it as a positive. Yeah. Good night, mate. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much.